Welcome to the latest Manchester United news. The main topic is Bruno Fernandes deciding to stay. I know it's not the latest news, but there's a lot to talk about what's going on. This Bruno news is not a shock to me because I already had a feeling that he wasn't going anywhere. Because if you recall that in the Asian tour, Ruben Amorim spoke to the journalists, and he was quite confident. He said, "Yeah, I want Bruno to stay, and I feel that he's going to stay, and I've explained to him how he'll fit into the system." And he wasn't exactly pleading with Bruno in the press conference because sometimes if you want a player and it looks like he's leaving, there would be a tendency to through the media to say nice things about him and plead and ask him to stay, but there was nothing of that sort. So that's why I was wondering, why is there such a big hoopla about this, and whether he's going to leave or not, because at least in the background it didn't sound that he was going to leave. But anyway, he was given time. He was Al Hilal personally, their president spoke to him, they discussed their plans, but everything which was in the background did not indicate that he was going to go. As I mentioned earlier, when Matthias Cunha's announcement was made on the 1st of June, he replied with "Welcome to Old Trafford." And then when when asked about in other interviews, he didn't look there like a person who wanted to leave and who wanted to get away. So because this is what Bruno was asked in an interview. This was before an international match between Portugal and Germany, and this is the basically it was one big comment and that's all he made, but it was very interesting. So he said there was the possibility. The president of Al Hilal called me a month ago to ask. There was a waiting period on my part to think about what the future would hold. I would be open to it if Manchester United felt it was my time. I spoke with Mr. Ruben Amorim, who really tried to talk me out of it. I spoke with the club, which wasn't willing to sell, only if I truly wanted to leave. We never talked about money. That was all handled by my agent, not me. I spoke with my family to understand that if that was what I wanted for my future, it was actually my wife who asked me. I never said yes or no. She put my professional priorities ahead of everything else. Yeah. So because I think this has been decided a long time ago. I think since Ruben wanted all these signings in place, they kind of, I think Ruben and Bruno worked together to push Ineos's hand to get these signings in. So, because we know Bruno is an ambitious person and he'll always have opportunities, but I think they use this Saudi opportunity to force Ineos's hand to get these players in, and I think they were quite successful because as soon as Bruno said this, later on in the day, even his wife put out a tweet about "Welcome to Old Trafford" or something of that sort. So I just feel that there was a this was a long time coming, and I'm actually glad it happened. As I mentioned before, that I was okay either way, whether he stays or he goes, because I could see the positives in both scenarios. But if he's because if he stays, he was one of the best players at Man United, and he was also a captain. And trust me, this team has no leaders, so his presence was very important. But I could understand the other point of view, which some of the fans do have, is that hey, it's good he goes. It's good he goes because not only do you get paid, but also if you keep Bruno, there's a chance that where will you play him? Because you would have to play him in the two midfielder roles, those pivots in front of the back three. And does he really fit that? Does he hold that position? No, not really. He likes to push himself forward. And so let's say if you have Cunha and Embuemo on either side, and then you have a striker, whoever that is, and then you have the midfielders with the wing backs. Wing backs will be probably Patrick Dogu and either Ahmad or Diego Dallo, one of them. But the midfielders would either be would there would be only two spots, and if you put Bruno in one of those spots, then he'll push himself really high up, leaving just another midfielder to stay back. And ideally, you want a midfielder who's really good with his feet. So there was an option of going out and getting either one or two midfielders this summer. But now with Bruno not leaving, I still think they'll go get one midfielder. But it's likely they'll just get one because it's that group is getting quite crowded. Even though Eriksen left, you still have Bruno, Ugarte, Casemiro, because I don't know if Casemiro is going to get sold, and Toby Collier. So they might just get just one more at that spot. I am I'm glad he's coming back because out of all the Man United players, he's one of the players who I want to see lift a trophy. I know this sounds silly coming right now that, hey, is he going to actually lift a big trophy? I think the way Man United have been addressing the front three, I mean, it is a possibility that they can fix up more quickly than previously thought of. Because I never thought that they would get Cunha and Mbuemo in the first 2 days. That was far. I thought that was highly unlikely. But the way they're going about their business now, so they'll get these two tens, and then I think they'll go after the midfielder next instead of the striker. I think striker might be delayed. It might wait a long time because there are a lot of negotiations have to take place. But I think you can sell a striker. I I I would really like Gyökeres, but if you can't get Gyökeres, I mean, the world is your oyster. Go get anybody because any striker, any good striker out there, once they hear about the other signings, they know that Man United is serious and he will be get fed a lot in the front three. Unlike last year, where Hoyland didn't get much service, and even when he did, he couldn't convert it. So I'm just glad that they were doing it. Now, with respect to Man United, there was always a speculation that, hey, is Man United going to survive without the money? Because 100 million pounds is a lot of money. First of all, I was reading this report on the Athletic. It was actually just 80 million pounds, but then it was brought up to 100 million pounds. But even that is not enough. And this is this is a comment which was made by Laurie Whitwell in that article. United, it must be said, received no direct communication on these numbers, and there was some skepticism within Old Trafford that such mega money would come to fruition. Nevertheless, the prospect of a huge injection of cash for a 30-year-old prompted some internal discussion. So Al Hilal didn't even come to Man United and discuss the transfer fee. I mean, this is utter nonsense. I don't know what to believe right now because was it likely he was going to go? I don't think so, and I don't think so there was any way they were going to do this because nothing is. I know in a normal transfer process you first go get personal terms agreed upon and then you go to the club and you discuss the transfer fee, but this is not any normal process. I mean, you're spending all this time with Bruno, going back and forth with his agent and discussing the next steps. And let's say you get it done. And then you come up with this small fee and say, hey, Man United, Bruno wants to leave, take it or leave it. Obviously, we're going to leave it. So this is the importance of Bruno. He is the captain of Manchester United. He was the best player of this team, and he holds all the cards in this process. There is no way you can show up and say, hey, we want him. It's not even like Man United want to get rid of him. There are other players that we want to get rid of him, and those players are much more easy to negotiate for. But this one was a no-brainer. I mean, there's no way you can come to Man United in the last minute and then say, okay, yeah, this is how much we're paying you. I mean, in fact, Man United should have taken the pri- should have made it its priority to go get ahead of the curve and negotiate with Al Hilal, saying, "Hey, so this we know what's happening in the background, but should this decide to go through, we're not just going to bend over and give you what you want, okay? Because it's not about how much you can pay as well. It's how much Bruno is worth to us, to Man United, and they could have explained to them that this is what this is the importance of Bruno in a team, and we were just missing some pieces, and that's why we couldn't win and score goals especially. So just if you think that we're just going to get rid of him like how we're trying to get rid of the other players, you're sadly mistaken. And that's how the negotiations should have happened already between the two clubs before any of this even happened. But none of it happened. I mean, okay, what happens if Bruno decides to leave and then Man United says no, he's worth 150 million pounds? What does Al Hilal say? No. I, I just don't know. I just. But anyway, the signs of everything. His wife commenting that they're staying at Old Trafford. Bruno in a pre-game presser saying that yeah, he thought about it, but he wasn't planning to leave. Ruben Amran in Asia saying that yeah, he's confident that he's going to stay and that he wants to stay in the top level, the one of the best leagues, and try to win there. I just think there was never a shot, and I'm glad he's staying. I just can't wait to see how all the pieces fit. He's one of the few players who I want to see win a trophy. So I I mean, just imagine if some of these other players who we tried to sell and who refused to leave. I'm not naming people, but there are players who they tried to force out, but they said no. And just imagining them lifting a trophy, and then Bruno, who was there during the bad times, was not there for it. I mean, I would have felt sick. So I know it's a big loss, but hey, Manchester United has come out and it's made some statements that it wasn't they could handle this without the cash from the Bruno sale. So I don't know. I I, I don't think anybody in Manchester United is worried that hey, he's not going. So anyway, I'm glad that saga is over. So that is one key thing we don't have to worry about for a long time. And it's reported that Al Hilal is just I mean, what can they do? They're now moving on to Victor Osman. I know it's another position, but they're willing to pay him much more than he was asking. But hey, who cares? I know this is controversial because a lot of I mean, not a lot, but there are some Man United fans who had their mindset up that Bruno was going to leave, and as long as long as he stays, according to them, this team wouldn't progress. But I disagree. I think he plays a vital role, and this is not even sentimental. If you watch some of my other videos, I'm not sentimental about any player. I've already thought about that. If I would ever get a shirt of any of these players, I would find it really, really hard. I would probably have to go get a retro shirt or something. There's no way I would get it of any of the present players. But I realize the value of Bruno to this team and the importance he makes. not only on the pitch but off the pitch as well. So let's see what happens next.